Peace and grand rising to the sovereign, original, indigenous, natural, divine heirs. Today is Sunday, January 30th, 1442 on the ancient moon calendar, 1441 on the ancient sun calendar, 1443 on the civil Islamic calendar. I wanted to bring some things to your attention because it's important with regard to the documents that have been placed on the public record. I want to show you some of just how powerful in the writings of the United States. And when I say United States, I am talking about the subjects. I'm not talking about any corpses or corporations. I'm talking about the subjects. How powerful those documents are. The first thing that I would like to share with you, I'll put the link to it in the chat. All rise and stand. This is a sovereign, original, indigenous, ancient, natural, divine, Al-Moroccan, Moorish American court action. I am sovereign living justice, and we are the sovereign living justices. In capitis diminution, nullo, in red ink, in propria persona juris, in propria solo, and in propria heredes. Our free chosen sovereign appellations are in capitis diminution, nullo, in red ink, in propria persona juris, in propria solo, and in propria heredes. We are the Al-Moroccan, Moorish American descendants of the great pharaohs of Kemet and of the ancient Moabites and Canaanites. Our full faith and trust, our allegiance, our credit, and our energy are hereby vested in ourselves. For we are the people who are the original, indigenous, natural, divine, ancient empire state of Morocco, and the de jure Moorish National Republic federal government, the universal Moorish American consulate, and the universal Article 3 Moorish American consular court. We are peace. We are one nation. We are one state. We are one empire, and we are one God. We hereby exercise all sovereign rights at this time and at all points in time, nunc pro tunc. So one of the documents that we have placed on the public record and encouraged all Moors to place on the public record in red and all lowercase letters is our fiduciary document. And I came across something in the code for federal regulation that validates, and it doesn't validate because our documents are validated already, but it just affirms what we knew in our spirit about our sovereign status and also about what the ancestors have given us with regard to fiduciary documents. So if you will click on the link that's in the chat, and we'll also put this link under this video on YouTube so that we can see where fiduciary responsibility and the authority of fiduciaries is stated in other documents. And again, this is just affirmation of what we've already done. And we're also encouraging all Moors to put the fiduciary document on the public record as well, because all Moors are the fiduciaries for the Empire State of Morocco. Okay, I'm not the only fiduciary. All Moors are. So if you look on the screen, this is the code for federal regulation. And if you'll see here, code is this is in blue. And they put the titles in blue. Title 17, Section 450.3. And here is what it says about exemption for holdings subject to fiduciary standards. Okay. Now, again, we are not applying or putting in paperwork or forms or documents, we send affidavits, of course. But we're not doing their forms. We don't need exemption from them or anything. What we're doing is we get our exemptions from our own sovereign state, okay? But I wanted to show you in the documents the power of the fiduciary. So this 450.3 exemption for holdings subject to fiduciary standards. In other words, any exemptions are subject to the fiduciary and what the fiduciary says and what the fiduciary does, and here's why. Part A says, the Secretary has determined that the rules and standards of the Comptroller of the Currency, the Board of Governors of the Federal Reserve System, and the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation governing the holding of government securities in a fiduciary capacity by depository institutions subject thereto are adequate. Accordingly, such depository institutions are exempt from this part with respect to their holdings of government securities in a fiduciary capacity and their holdings of government securities in a custodial capacity, provided that such institution has adopted policies and procedures that would apply to such custodial holdings, all the requirements imposed by its appropriate regulatory agency that are applicable to government securities held in a fiduciary capacity. And number two, such custodial holdings are subject to examination by the appropriate regulatory agency for compliance with such fiduciary requirements. And B, the Secretary expects that each appropriate regulatory agency will notify the Department if it materially revises its rules and standards governing the holding of government securities in a fiduciary capacity. Is that not powerful? What does that say about the Comptroller of the Currency, the Board of Governors of the Federal Reserve, and the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation? It says that they're all acting in fiduciary capacity, or they were acting in fiduciary capacity. In other words, they had to be fiduciaries to even do what they're doing. That is the power and the authority of all of the documents that we put out there. The currency controller document that we put on the public record in red and all lowercase letters is stating when you put that document with the fiduciary document, you've got that kind of authority. That's going to cover the Board of Governors. We have a governor's sovereign governor's document, affidavit, that we put on the public record that all Moors are free to take that, use it, copy it, edit it, put your information in it so that you know the authority that you have. And then the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation is a fiduciary. In that other system, it was fiduciary. In our system, of course, it's fiduciary for insurance. So many were discussing things like insurance. The indemnis facier that we've placed on the public record for $100 million in more sovereign delarium is a fiduciary document too. So again, I don't send any demonstrations out without the fiduciary document being in there, even if it's just a court action or something like that. The fiduciary document always goes with it because we are the fiduciaries for the Empire State of Morocco. All of us are, which means we have the authority to move currency. We have the authority to do any actions that the Federal Reserve System was doing, which all they were doing really was managing contracts, governing contracts, or presuming to govern contracts. Okay? And so that gave us the example that we could look at and say, okay, let's adopt this for our state. Let's see what's happening here and put it and clean it up, clean up the corruption in it by making it, by leaning anything that the United States Corporation Company did, and then taking it and taking the principles and the concepts and using them for our own state. Okay, now in the Code for Federal Regulations, it's specifically stating that they are custodians, just like we said they were. They're not the government. We're the government. They are simply custodians and nothing other than that. Okay? So this is very powerful. And when you put, again, when you put all of this together with the documents that are on the public record, you have full authority to govern your vast estate, and then you're doing it with court actions and court action language on your affidavit. How powerful is that? How powerful is that? And so this is a very powerful and affirmative section in the Code for Federal Regulations. And why are we looking at the Code for Federal Regulations? Because we're the federal government too. The Moorish National Republic federal government is the federal government for the land. And when I say the federal government for the land, again, that's all Moors. It's not just any one Moor. That's all of us. All who assent to be. So we wanted to put that forward and let you know that the fiduciary document and the currency controller document and the governor, sovereign president, there's several sovereign lawyer documents, all of those documents, very, very powerful when you put them with the fiduciary document and the statehood document. Okay? Because again, the secretary that they're talking about in this section is a secretary for of state. Okay, when I say of state, of their state, not our state. Okay, so what do? We take this section, we put it in red in all lowercase letters, and we reference it, and they will know when the subject and the custodian receive our documents and see this on there, they're already going to know, and they know already. It doesn't even, because we've already demonstrated this. We've demonstrated that we're the fiduciary. And we're the fiduciary, they're the custodian, and that is of the name, the innvited, which is a creature of the law. And again, we're not at war, so we don't use nom de jure. We use something that we created. And those are, it can be in monochrome black ink in capital letters, okay? But it must be, the fiduciary document needs to be with it so that they know that it's coming from your state, that your state issued that, okay? And so this is very, very important with regards to anything that we do so that jurisdiction can be properly established. Because a very wise Moor once said that before the law can be executed, it must first be established. Okay? Before it can be executed, it must first be established. Can you all hear me? Hopefully you can hear me. Just one moment. Okay, great. Thank you, Mobility. Because sometimes my phone does things and I can't really, I can't tell whether you can hear me or not. Thank you. So this is something that you can put in your document if you want to reference this. This is going to be important as we move forward with the delarium. Okay. This is going to be important as we move forward with the delarium. Just one moment. Yeah. This is going to be important as we move forward with the delarium because, again, there are authorities. Our authority is manifested on the fiduciary document along with the currency controller document. There are some changes, not changes, but just some additions that we're making to the delarium and to the notification piece with the delarium that is going to further validate from our perspective. We're validating our own money, okay? And I would like to show you one of the changes that I recently made to the delarium. And it's just an update, and these are, again, we're unfolding our vast estate. And in unfolding our vast estate, we want to be sure that we know that we're changing things. We're changing things. Things are changing. Things are changing in our favor, transitioning, because this is a transition that we're in. Okay. Let me show you. Just one moment. See if I can pull this one up. Here it is. Okay. I want to show you just in alignment, again, with what we have on the screen here with regard to currency controller document and fiduciary document. We're now pulling some things together on the delarium so that we can, again, continue manifesting the viability of our money. So let me share this with you. Let's see. Can you see the delarium on the screen? Not this one. This one. Oops. No. Okay. Okay. So now, there are some things that we've added to the delarium because I did notice that in looking at currencies from other countries, quote unquote countries, I'm noticing some of the numbers that they have on their money and ensuring that we put the same, something that is similar but uncorrupted, okay? Similar but uncorrupted, because we have to make this connection. So on the delarium that's on the screen, you'll see in red, Empire State of Morocco currency, Federal Reserve master account, and the master account, if you look in the documents that we placed on the public record, there is a document that has the master code for the Internal Revenue Service, which we're the original Internal Revenue Service in red and all lowercase letters. And so what we did was we went back through the Internal Revenue Service manual and looked at the codes for creditors. And we put that document out on the public record because it has the codes that will make it so that all bank accounts are creditor accounts, okay? So that is what this Federal Reserve master account number is. And notice it does not have any dashes, okay? And then if there's a space there, it is assumed to be a plus or positive number. We could have put plus signs there and it would have meant the very same thing. In math, in basic math, if a number doesn't have any signs around it, then it's considered a positive number. Just like the Moors, we just are. It's only when you put a negative sign that the number changes to a different number, and it then becomes a deficit, a debit, a debt, etc. Okay? And then we put here United States Treasury account number. This account number is my sovereign security number. So on okay, hold on for just a moment. Let me see if I can make sure that it's on the screen. Just one moment. Okay, my apologies. Here, it's on there now. So can you all see it there? Okay. So I've made a few changes, and United States Treasury account number. And again, we're writing in French. The majority of our spells are French. So this is my sovereign security number. So, those who want to use their sovereign security number, there are no dashes here. We're not debtors, we're creditors. And so the sovereign security number, that is what we use in our treasury. And then in blue, the United States Treasury routing number is a number that if you Google Treasury direct account, this number will come up. But again, we put it in blue and we have leaned any imposters. Okay? We have leaned any imposters. All imposters have been named. Okay, so we're putting some things on here. This is our AA222141A1 true. And again, we are the fiduciaries to these letters. That's why there are capital letters here. We use capital letters the way we want to use them because the Empire State of Morocco is the currency controller for this document, this delarium. So again, I don't send out delarium without that fiduciary document accompanying it. Okay? And so these are some changes and some updates that we're making to manifest the viability of Moorish sovereign delarium. Okay? We know that these are proper methodologies and proper law with regard to money and international things such as bills of exchange and all of that. We know that this is proper for that based on what you can see there and the things that we call into law. Okay. Now, there is another, and this is the main, these are some of the reasons that we called this meeting today. But there's another something that I want to share with you and to have us to discuss it, and if all are in agreement, put it on the public record as something coming from the Empire State of Morocco. And it's all connected to what we're doing here. And then on this coming Thursday, we'll tie it all together. We're going to tie all of this together this Thursday and the following Thursday. We're going to tie it all together, and you'll see how it works. Okay? Delarium is absolutely what we should be doing. I'm just telling you, it's unmistakable. It's manifesting. We should be doing the things that we're doing with our own money. And, there's some doubt out there about it from some of the heirs because they don't realize that they have the sovereign authority to do whatever they want to do when they're competent on their own land. We all do. So if you want to go ahead and get a screenshot of this, you can. so that you can see, and then tailor it to what you need. Tailor it to your needs and whatever it is you're doing. Because just like I have the authority to do this based on the law that we write, actually, every Moor has the ability and the sovereign authority, because we each have our own sovereign estate, and the estate is ours together. So this, when Moors were trying to do treasury direct accounts and things like that, that is actually this that we're doing. This is how you access a treasury direct account. The United States Corporation Company did not have an account to give you. We actually had to create those accounts ourselves by our own sovereign word and what we're doing. We're going to prove that too in just a minute, okay? Those accounts that people have been talking about, we actually had to create them by our sovereign word. In the beginning was the Word was with God and not with anyone else, and the Word was God. The Word is God, okay? So, and then state fiduciary commercial account is 010105905. So we are honoring our Prophet Noble Jew Ali. We're putting it in in blue, because what our Prophet did, he placed the document that he put in on the record, he recorded it with them, with the subject. And that was supposed to be a custodial situation. Somehow, somewhere along the way, someone didn't do what our Prophet intended, and the custodians stopped acting like custodians and started acting like they were governing something. And so it's our responsibility, it's our national, international, and universal duty to make sure that the intentions that our Prophet had for us and for our nation are what they should be. But only we can do that. Each Moor must do that for themselves. And I can tell you that the frequency of the earth is rising so quickly that this kind of thing is coming so quickly for the new Moors. They see it, it makes sense, and they just do it. Because they do their own study too. It makes sense to them because they study. So now I want to put something else with all of this, because again, we have the sovereign authority to do. Now, let me say this before we move on to the next piece. In this section, in this CFR that we placed on the screen, this is the proof that even those doing business as comptroller of currency, or who were doing business as comptroller of currency and board of governors and federal FDIC and all of that, that they knew that they were custodial in nature and nothing other than that, because even here it's stating that they're custodial. So they knew it, but we often wonder if they're the custodians, who are the beneficiaries of that? We are. But we have to take the corruption out. So with that being said, I want to call your attention to let's see if we can put this, I'll put the link in the chat to this next piece. It's called the Gold Reserve Law. For us, it's 1442. However, for them, it is the Gold Reserve Act of 1934. So I'm going to put the link to it in the chat so that you can see it, and then we'll pull it up on the screen. Okay, the link is in the chat, and we'll also put this link under the video on YouTube at Like to Jury Bay channel. So let's go ahead and go to this and see. Again, the things that we're looking at were never meant for us to go under the United States Corporation Company and try to get anything. It was meant for us to look at it and then get our own and do it our own selves and take it out of the status of an act and put it into law, to make and enforce law. That is what we do. So, let's see. Let's take a read of this public law. This is Public Law 73. It's from the 73rd Congress, Public Law number 87. Now, this is an act. We're going to vote today to clean up the corruption in it and make it the law and put it with, again, all we're doing is stacking our chips. We're just stacking. We've already done everything that needs to be done, but we need to ensure that we use all of the resources like the Code for Federal, because the Code for Federal Regulations, it is not of any use unless we use it, unless we take what we see, and so same thing with the public laws. They're not of any use, as we can see. You know, quote unquote citizens have been trying to use it, but they cannot use it because it's an act. They're acting for us so that we know to put it in red, uncorrupted, put it on the public record. So let's take a read of this public law. It's 87, it's the 73rd Congress, and it's Hall of Record or House resolutions. It's House resolutions when they do it. It's Hall of Records when we do it. That's what HR really means. Hall of Records 6976. This is and we'll read it the way they put it on the public record, an act to protect the currency system of the United States, to provide for the better use of the monetary gold stock of the United States and for other purposes. Now, you're going to see the word state in here several times, and then you're going to see the word federal in here, because in order for anything like this to actually work, the state and the federal must come together like they have with the Moorish National Republic federal government and the Empire State of Morocco. In order to, according to the Montevideo law of 1933, in order for you to proclaim statehood, you must have a government. And some would think that government and state are the same. They have different functions. So it says here, be it enacted by the Senate and House of Representatives of the United States of America in Congress assembled, that the short title of this act shall be the Gold Reserve Act of 1934. Section 2. Upon the approval of this act, all right, title, and interest, and every claim of the Federal Reserve Board, of every Federal Reserve Bank, and of every Federal Reserve agent in and to any and all gold coin and gold bullion shall pass to and are hereby vested in the United States. And again, when we do this, this is the United States in red and all lowercase letters, as well as United States in blue in capital minutiae minima. Okay? And in payment, therefore, credits in equivalent amounts in dollars are hereby established in the Treasury, in the accounts, there's those accounts and those sovereign credits, in the accounts authorized under the 16th paragraph of Section 16 of the Federal Reserve Act, as heretofore and by this act amended, USC Title 12, Section 467. Balances in such accounts shall be payable in gold certificates which shall be in such form and in such denominations as the Secretary of the Treasury may determine. All gold so transferred, not in the possession of the United States, shall be held in custody for the United States and delivered upon the order of the Secretary of the Treasury. And the Federal Reserve Board, the Federal Reserve Bank, and the Federal Reserve agent shall give such instructions and shall take such action as may be necessary to assure that such gold shall be so held and delivered. Section 16 of the Federal Reserve Act, as amended, is further amended in the following respects. The third sentence of the first paragraph is amended to read as follows. Now, this right here is proof that they are changing what the original law said in order to fit their corporate status. That means they were doing the same thing that we're undoing or doing. They were changing what our ancestors wrote in order to fit their corporate status. And all we're doing is putting it in red in all lowercase letters and changing it back and putting it in its proper status. It says the third sentence of the first paragraph is amended to read as follows. They shall be redeemed in lawful money on demand at the Treasury Department of the United States, in the City of Washington, District of Columbia, or at any Federal Reserve Bank. So much of the third sentence of the second paragraph as perceived the proviso is amended to read as follows. The collateral security thus offered shall be not people, but notes, drafts, bills of exchange, or acceptances acquired under the provisions of Section 13 of this Act, or bills of exchange endorsed by a member bank, we know we're the bank, of any Federal Reserve district and purchased under the provisions of Section 14 of this Act, or bankers' acceptances purchased under the provisions of said Section 14 or gold certificates. It says the first sentence of the third paragraph is amended to read as follows. Every Federal Reserve Bank shall maintain reserves in gold certificates or lawful money of not less than 35% against its deposits and reserves in gold certificates of not less than 40% against its Federal Reserve notes in actual circulation, provided, however, that when the Federal Reserve agent holds gold certificates as collateral for Federal Reserve notes issued to the bank, such gold certificates shall be counted as part of the reserve which such bank is required to maintain against its Federal Reserve notes in actual circulation. So when we uncorrupt this, that means that everything is, again, under our sovereign authority, and it always has been. We just had to unlock and access it by putting competent documents on the public record. That's all. We just had to look at it and then do the test and say, okay, how should this be written on the public record? Well, we as the government and as the state should agree to put it on the public record and then put it there competently. And then guess what? What does it say? It says that the gold reserves and the bullion and all of that is under the law. We knew it was, but we need to put it on the public record. So we're going to do that today with your, if you will. If you will. So at this time, I would like to, I am placing on the table, this round table, that we place this on the public record as a law, as the law, and then move forth as stated in this this writing right here. I wanted to make a couple of things clear in this writing. It talks about here that the gold and the gold bullion is in payment, therefore, credits in equivalent amounts in dollars. Dollars, again, is a unit of measure. Moorishe sovereign delarium. So whenever the corpses saw United States dollars, they had to put something there to fit that unit of measurement. And again, their United States dollars were not backed by gold, okay? But they put something there called Federal Reserve debt notes, okay? Our documents uncorrupt all of that. And we can then state that credit, sovereign credit, in equivalent amounts. We've already put on the public record that one sovereign credit equals one moorishe sovereign delarium, which equals one gold-backed United States dollar. And that's United States in red and in blue as stated by the Empire State of Morocco. So, and then hereby established treasury account. That is what we have the authority to do as the Empire State of Morocco, which is the overarching heirs, okay, where states are concerned. And then the federal government is the Moorish National Republic federal government in red in all lowercase letters, and it is an arm of the Empire State of Morocco. Okay. And then it says balances in such accounts shall be payable in gold certificates, which shall be in such form and in such denominations as the Secretary of the Treasury may determine. All gold so transferred, not in the possession of the United States, shall be held in custody. Well, again, we have stated that they're the custodians, and we're the fiduciary. Because if you look at this document here even further, where it mentions the Federal Reserve Board, the Federal Reserve Banks, and the Federal Reserve agents, we've already stated and shown you in this in the 450.3, in the code for federal regulations, we've already shown that the fiduciaries have already superseded the authorities, any authorities claimed by any Federal Reserve Board, Federal Reserve Bank, Federal Reserve agent, Secretary of the Treasury, etc. Okay? We have already done that. So that's why, again, the fiduciary document is so important. So with that being said, just one moment. I am placing on the table that we vote to put this on the public record in an uncorrupted manner. So all in favor of placing an uncorrupted law, gold reserve law of 1442, on the public record. If you would please *6 and state aye, and then after we do that, we will say anyone who says nay. Please unmute and state nay.
Elmo Ruben Bright Day. Aye.
Aye.
State your appellation, please.
Empress Aisha L. Aye.
You're fine.
Elmo Ruben Bright Day. Aye.
You're fine.
Musa Jube. Aye.
You're fine.
If it's like you need, it's Morpheus.
Yes.
Pascal here, Email, Town, Maryland, Republic. Aye.
You're fine.
Willis Smith, Mississippi Territory. Aye.
You're fine.
That will belong to Yusuf L. Aye.
Jennifer Lynn L.
Say the whole thing.
Detroit Territory. Aye.
Noble Roger Hootie Bay, West Territory, aye.
Justice White, Fiduciary Bay. Aye. Are there any others?
Antama Atway, Venetian Territory, aye.
Islam.
You can set it up.
Okay. Now, all of those not in favor of putting an uncorrupted law on the book, on the public record, at this time, if you will unmute and start and say nay, if you are opposed to putting this on the public record. Wow. I believe we do have a unanimous decision by the people. Yes, in the chat, Empress Chitali, we see your aye. Islam. Those who are voting in the chat, we see you. Islam. With that being said, we have a unanimous vote by the people, who are the sovereign, original, indigenous, ancient empire state of Morocco, putting the gold reserve law of 1442 on the public record in its uncorrupted form. And with that being said, that is the reason that we had that this meeting was called. It was somewhat impromptu. We called it yesterday. Because we wanted to put these things on the public record before we do the demonstrations that we're doing next week with regard to delarium and all the things that we are doing in order to manifest the viability of that which we know is already the law. So I want to thank you for your votes, and here's why. It only takes, listen to me carefully because this is the truth. It only takes one sovereign to run the whole earth. Any one of us could do it. Any one of us could do it. Any one of us could do it. However, we have decided to come together and to unify and to do it together. And to me, that is, it doesn't take, we already have critical mass. We talked about that before the recording started. Not everybody can make the calls, but even if we have 1,000 people who hear this and who witness this, that is more affirmation that the sovereigns who voted here today are affirmed. Is there someone wanting to say something? Okay. I think there's a couple of, okay. Listen, do not let anyone fool you into thinking that we have to have 50,000 sovereigns in order to put the law in place for the whole earth. We don't have to have that many. We just have to have sovereigns where 2 or 3 witnesses are gathered together. Let every word be established. Every word be established. I'm so excited for us. So let's keep moving forward. We know that we have everything that it takes to govern this earth and to have dominion and to manifest and exercise dominion. We've manifested that already. We're going to continue to do so. I have nothing further today. So are there any questions or comments about what we're doing? Okay, Islam. So with that being said, peace and grand rising to the sovereign, original, indigenous, natural, divine heirs. Islam.
Peace and grand rising.
Grand rising.
I'm over from Barbados.
Thank you.
Grand rising.
Grand rising.
Thank you, Empress. Thank you for being here.
Goodbye.
Grand rising.
Islam.
Grand rising.
Islam.
Grand rising.
Islam. Thank you for your energy, Islam.